I have a real love affair with this art form. My favorite directors, I think, are the best directors of all time, and I just wanted to make something that Stanley Kubrick would like, you know? So beyond the audience pressures, my personal perfectionism as an artist was the main pressure. In terms of the discomfort of sharing the story, I really believe this is bigger than us. This is a movie about, you know, a homeless black gay man who joins the Marine Corps in order to win back his mother's love, but then ultimately learns how to respect himself. So that process of self-respect requires one to kind of acknowledge the shame that you're carrying, to face that out loud, and then to say, you know what? I have nothing to be embarrassed about. There's nothing wrong with me. And in that way, sure, it's uncomfortable to be in an audience or to be on set even sometimes, but it's worth it because I know there's lots of people out there who feel disregarded, who feel left behind, and this movie is just for them.
For me, it was a very unique experience because not only was I portraying the man to my left, but he was the writer and the director. So there were like all separate conversations we could have, but ultimately, it was really about me making space to be used, and that was the thing. Is like I have to be the vessel, so we'd have a lot of conversations, so I could get as close as I could to the experience or in understanding his experience or his POV of said experience, and allow that to inform the decisions that I made as I was creating French. And that was one thing he allowed so graciously, was for me to and to evolve and to create my version of French. You know what I mean? He gave me space to do that. It wasn't this is wrong and this is right. Everything was right. You know, because it was coming from a place of truth and honesty, and because we had had all these necessary conversations. So it ended up being something very beautiful, and for me and for him, very healing, to be able to look across the room at my writer and my director that was black and queer, and saying, I see you, and my only responsibility was to show up for him, and his responsibility was showing up for me, and I felt so safe and taken care of.
Portraying someone who's obviously so close to elegance, but with a very complicated relationship, that was also no longer with us, recently passed. It's a lot of emotion that has to go into the preparation and the care. And this was one time I could not judge the character I was playing. And as Elegance is processing, I have to process right along with him in a respectful, compassionate, empathetic kind of way, which I'd never done. So it was an enormous amount of pressure to find the balance of crafting a character out of my own ideas about who Inez is, but also being very respectful to a truly lived experience. It's just an enormous amount of pressure.
Yeah, I think for me it's a challenge because you have to dig and you have to go to those dark places, as we talked about, to find yourself in these characters and what can you pull up. And Gab talks about it, sometimes those are the ugliest parts of yourself that you don't want anyone to see. And some of the experiences that we shared are the most painful and hurtful. So I think where I found my ground and a moment of peace was knowing that I wasn't alone in it. It wasn't something I just had to carry. It was like when it felt heavy for him, I look across the room and say, give that to me today. I feel strong enough to carry it today. And there would be certain takes where I would want to sob and not do it anymore, and he'd say, that was good, we can move on. Because you know what I mean? So it was just about finding that dynamic, and even with me and Gab, when we'd have our scenes, people have asked us, did you guys go off in separate rooms? And no, we were just trying to be as close as we could. We understood there was a longing in this relationship. So anytime we just wanted to be close because we knew on screen there was a pull and a tug. And the only way for us to understand that was to find that closeness within each other, and then understand what was at stake and what Elegance was looking for and striving for and needing and longing for.
And therapy.
And therapy, yeah. Only therapy.
Compose myself. You know, I have immense gratitude as well. What Jeremy is saying about, you know, helping me carry the load. a lot of those conversations that we were having in between takes. How did it feel when your mother did this? What were you actually thinking? These are conversations I've never had in my life with anyone. Things have impacted me that I've never spoken about. So in that regard, I felt safe enough to be honest about things that I had never been honest with myself about before. And it was transformational, the pressure of making the movie, the actual physicality of it. I grew up with a very strong black woman who, unfortunately, at times had to stuff her feelings down to get to work because she had a child to take care of and a house to maintain and nobody to help her. So I grew up watching people work while they're in pain. So I had to resort to, ironically enough, the person who rejected me, she often became my example of how to balance, the many conflicting feelings I was having. We were fortunate enough to shoot at the Miliota Police Academy in Jackson, Mississippi. Mm-hmm. Big shout out to the people of Jackson. We're here with you. We love you. We support you. We want to see you win. And that academy is built by a former Marine, so it's a mimic of Paris Island. Mm-hmm. So they had training, so when we first got on set, the actors went to training, but the real key was Octavia Jones. Yeah. She is a sergeant that I served with when I was a private. Mm-hmm. I didn't even know her first name until we got on set. Mm-hmm. I used to call her Sergeant Jones. I was so bad not knowing her name, I called her, I mispronounced her name for most of the shoot. Yeah. And so you guys...
Like, sir, her name is Octavia.
I never said her name before.
Right.
But I told her, I was like, listen, she just got back from boot camp. I want you to come on this set and put your foot in their ass, just like you do at basic training. I want you to take
She
the
did. She followed the assignment through and through, to the point that even I remember our background, they were like, wait a minute, I thought this was just, you just show up and, yes. we need you in tip-top shape. But the boys, our whole fam, we became a platoon. We worked together, we hung out, outside of just working, to just build that bond and that community of what it was like to go through basic training and shaving our heads and kind of stripping all of the things that were comfortable for us. And I think it made us very vulnerable. I know I felt very vulnerable, but I also felt very supported from my director, but also from my cast, who made space for us to feel and to find and to keep finding and to keep exploring, because we ultimately knew what the story was. Like Elegance said, it's bigger than us. I believe it's a conversation starter. And I'm so excited to be able to start having those conversations with the people that it resonates with.
You know the saying, you can't dismantle the master's house using the master's tools. Mm-hmm. But for those of us who have been so committed to assimilation and to centering the needs of the oppressor when they wouldn't even spit in your direction if you were on fire, if you insist on using the master's tools, what you're going to do is fuck around and dismantle your own house. And I don't want you to dismantle your own house, chasing something that is unattainable. Love each other exactly where they're at. And I promise you, the world will not end. Mm-hmm. Love your children. They're not disposable.
For me, it's just, I think for me, this film, I'm speaking to the Black and the queer. And I want them to know they are enough. You are more than enough. Stand in your truth. Stand in where you are. You are meant for greatness. You are loved by people that you don't even know. I want this film to be a love letter, a moment for them to go, I feel seen. Because I know how important it is. Seeing is believing. So to see a film like this, and like Elegance said, to see you can make it to the other side. It's gonna be okay. You can find that respect within yourself and still never give up. Mm-hmm. And never give up on a relationship for long, but you can find that respect and know that you are worthy. That is what this film is about. You are worthy.
For sure. I think the greatest lesson I learned from my military service is that I'm only as important as my ability to protect the person to my left and to my right. I think in this moment that we're in the United States, where things are so polarized and divided right down the middle, this is a lesson that we all need to take seriously. You can have a difference of opinion. You can have a difference of skin color, a difference of sexuality, but all of that is secondary to our need and will to survive. And the only way to survive is through community. So I hope that people watch this movie and reassess where they are, the trenches that they've dug themselves into, and come out into the light.